We go to Zach in Honolulu. Welcome back to the Line of Fire.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
Good, good.
Awesome. Cool. So, quick question. I was reading this book called Jewish Literacy, and there's this question that popped up in. It's a great book. One chapter, and it said, "Who is a Jew?"
Mm-hmm.
So that is my question for you. Simple one.
Yeah, well, it's a simple question. It's a more complicated answer, but a very, very helpful book by Rabbi Joseph Telushkin. All of his books are excellent: Jewish Wisdom, Jewish Literacy, and other books that he's written. So one of the more popular Jewish thinkers of this generation. So a Jew would be someone who is physically descended from Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, the tribes of Israel, and continues to identify as a Jew, meaning that there are people who are physical descendants but have completely assimilated and have lost all touch with Jewish heritage centuries ago, so you have no idea who they are or where they are. So either someone who's a physical descendant or someone who converts into Judaism, and then thereafter their children would be considered Jews. So a physical descendant of the Jewish people through history, or someone that converts to Judaism and then would therefore be considered a Jew.
Okay. Can I ask you one more question?
Yeah. Now, how did Joseph Telushkin answer?
Well, he said that converts aren't really Jews because they're not, ethnically Jewish, as you and I are.
Are you sure he said they're not really Jewish? Did he use those words?
Well, here, let me just refer to it really quickly, if you don't mind.
Because in point of fact, according to Judaism, that if you're a convert, you can then immediately speak of the God of our fathers as if you were part of that historic group of people.
Yeah. Well, the way that I take it, Doctor, is that, it's kind of like if I were to move to China and, I would just call myself Chinese at that point.
But Chinese is only an ethnicity. Chinese is only an ethnicity.
Right.
Being a Jew is also... Right. But being a Jew can be ethnic or religious. Being a Jew as a practitioner of Judaism is another way it's defined.
But since, Christianity is really the... Sorry, may I ask this question?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. So since, I think that we both would agree that Christianity is really is the full and complete form of Judaism. So if somebody were to convert to Orthodox or to modern, Orthodox Judaism, would that really make them Jewish, or just adopt a religious idea that just sort of guides as Judaism?
Right. So here's the thing. I would not say it like that Christianity is the ultimate form of Judaism, because Judaism is a specific religion, and as it developed not believing in Jesus. So here, let me give you an example, okay? Can you tell me if the term Judaism exists anywhere in the Bible?
Not verbatim.
Okay.
I mean, maybe some paraphrased version would use that, but not.
All right. So it does, right. It actually literally occurs in Greek as Judaism. And Paul in Galatians, the first chapter, he says, I was advancing in Judaism beyond many of my own age among my people, so extremely zealous was I for the traditions of my fathers. And he says, for you have heard of my former life in Judaism, how I persecuted the church of God violently and tried to destroy it. Acts 13 refers to devout converts to Judaism. So the point is there is something that was called Judaism that did not follow Jesus as the Messiah, and that Paul was part of. So he was no longer practicing that Judaism, and that's the Judaism that has continued to define Jews through the ages. So if someone converted to Orthodox Judaism today, yeah, they are Jews in that same tradition of Judaism that Paul was once part of, a part that does not embrace Jesus as the Messiah. Now, you don't stop being a Jew when you follow him. but you're not practicing that Judaism. You may say we're practicing Messianic Judaism, and that becomes controversial in the Jewish community, but you're not practicing that Judaism. So yeah, if someone converted to Judaism today, that would make them a Jew in the eyes of the Jewish community, and doesn't affect their salvation or their relationship with God. Obviously, that comes through the Messiah, but they would be defined as a Jew.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so referencing that chapter in Jewish literacy, there was a man. Let's see. I think it was. Let's see here. What's his name? Rufusstein. Daniel Rufusstein, who converted to Catholicism, and then I think by the law of return, he actually was regarded not as a Jew. So is it possible to lose one's Jewishness?
Right. So that's the big debate. It remains a debate to this moment, Zach. There are folks that we know, part of a very, very famous case in Israel, that they were believers from South Africa, living very much as Jews who believed in Jesus, but very much living a Jewish lifestyle, making aliyah to Israel, and their son betrayed them. Their son turned them in and said they're not really Jews, and that ended up being a big case, went to the Supreme Court, and they ended up losing. So there remains debate about this. On the one hand, you could be a Jewish Buddhist, and no one questions whether you're still a Jew. You could be a Jewish atheist, and no one questions whether you're still a Jew. But what if you converted to Islam, say? Would you still be considered, would you be a Jewish Muslim? Convert to Catholicism, would be a Jewish Catholic. Right. So that remains a debate in the Jewish community. There is a Talmudic text that says, even if Israel sins, he's still Israel. Meaning that no matter what a Jewish person would do, they're still a Jew. And when I came to faith, and my dad was upset that I was getting baptized, the rabbi said to him, don't worry, he's just a baptized Jew. And obviously don't take this too seriously either. And I've, in debating with Rabbi Shmuley and all that, he'd say, yes, Mike, you're a Jew and fellow Jew, and other rabbis, counter-missionary rabbis that I deal with, interact with, they say, yeah, you're still a Jew. But others would say, no, you're not a Jew because you don't practice Judaism and you believe in things contrary to Judaism, namely Jesus being the Messiah and the deity of the Messiah and things like that. So it remains a debate. Basically, if you want to make aliyah, if you are a Messianic Jew and you want to make aliyah, you want to become a citizen in Israel, that God can open the door with you just being who you are and saying, this is who I am, and my mother was Jewish, here's the ketubah, here's the marriage certificate. You could do that, and God could open that door. But for the most part, it's best to not share other details of your faith, simply to say, I'm Jewish, I was bar mitzvah, here's the ketubah from my mother, here's whatever background, especially if you're living a Jewish lifestyle as a Messianic Jew. But when I said it's a simple question, but the answer is more complicated, I boiled it down as simply as I could. But under the law of return, if you have a Jewish mother, you can return, unless you converted to another religion. So in that sense, you would no longer be considered a Jew. But it is a debate. Are you still a Jew? A Jew who believes in Jesus, a Jew who believes in Allah, a Jew who believes in nothing? Or do you have to be practicing Judaism on some level to be a Jew? That's what's debated. Or you don't have to practice anything as long as you don't convert to something else. Then our argument is, hey, we're just going by the Bible. We're doing what every Jew should do. We're not telling you to stop being a Jew. We're telling you to be a Jew that's honoring God's Messiah.